Okay, we are on filmsgonewild.com. My name is John Wildman, and we are going to be talking about the film Workhorse Queen, which is screening at the Bentonville Film Festival. We have the director, Angela Washko, and we have the subject, Mrs. Kasha Davis, with us. So, I can't wait to start talking about this movie, but we're going to start it off. Angela, our audience has not seen the film as yet. We're guessing. So introduce them to the film. Tell them what the film is about.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, so Workhorse Queen is a feature-length documentary film. It follows Ed Popil, who is the man behind Mrs. Kasha Davis, who you're seeing right now. Ed Popil was a telemarketing manager based in the suburbs of Rochester, New York, still based in Rochester, but whose life completely changed when he was cast onto the reality TV show RuPaul's Drag Race. And this sort of thrust him for the first time into a full-time entertainment career in his mid-40s. The film looks at the phenomenon of Drag Race and how it's impacted local small-town drag communities, as well as the challenges that performers face in committing to their authentic voice and finding the most ideal platforms for that voice. So, yeah.
All right. One of the things that I really appreciated about the film, in fact, I loved about the film, was the insight it gives us in almost in a nuts and bolts way of the drag queen career, and building it and sustaining it and struggling to sustain it and fighting against all odds, almost like Don Quixote at times, and I think it's a wonderful insight. And so my first question, though, is about the teaming up of director and subject here, because listen, as a drag queen, you are fashioning a persona, you are creating a reality for all of us to be a part of and enjoy. And a documentary at its core is to break that apart and go, this is what we're actually seeing, this is what's underneath. And so talk about that partnership between the two of you, and because since those things are at odds seemingly, but yet they're not here. So how did you two do that?
I mean, I think from starting off, I'm coming from a background of being an artist in more of a like fine arts context, making more experimental performance and video and even social practice work. So I think my methodology or my approach to filmmaking is maybe a little bit unconventional and informed by performing within unusual contexts. I did a lot of performances inside World of Warcraft. So I guess as a filmmaker, for me, it seemed really important to like embed myself into the community, to spend a lot of time and take a lot of care in the process around the filming, having a lot of conversations about with Ed, with Steven, with the other people who've been filmed about what the sort of vision for the project is, and trying to be as transparent as possible about what we're going for together. I think there was definitely times when we were filming where, especially for the first year of filming, where Mrs. Kasha Davis was very aware of the camera and wanting to present the persona of Mrs. Kasha Davis in her most like positive, most like glamorous, most almost being a sort of host to her own film. Like, I'm Mrs. Kasha Davis. Welcome to my basement. This is the fabulous Mr. Davis. And, now we're in Los Angeles. It's beautiful. I'm so grateful, and I think all of that was really interesting to document. But at a certain point, we had to have a conversation about kind of letting the wall down and being vulnerable and kind of what this film could offer that's maybe different from the other media that exists about Drag Race, that exists about Mrs. Kasha Davis, seemed to me to be an opportunity to kind of look at how hard some of this is, and what both the beauty in this pursuit, but also the some of the smaller audiences or promoters who are screwing over queens, or the some of the challenges that are featured in the film. So
yeah. And Kasha, when you and Ed talked about this, give some insight into what was going through your head, because you are filming through an extensive period of time, and and there's trust elements there, and again, you're still navigating in a very real way what you're doing. So let us in on your thought process there.
Well, it's an interesting question, because Angela's absolutely right. She was spot on with, I was like, showtime. And she also was patient, and as a educator by profession, she was able to help me to understand what we were looking to do here. And I've said it, I'll say it again. This particular process and this project has been more of a dream come true for me than my competition on RuPaul's Drag Race. Why? Because I am a theater person at heart, and I like for there to be a message. I like for there to be, a purpose other than prettiness. And so when I saw Miss Richfield 1981, my inspiration, I saw the live singing and I saw the messaging. And so when it was presented to me and continued to be presented to me, I was happy to do this, because this is ultimately what Mr. Davis and I were trying to do on YouTube, but it was all over the place. And Angela was able to take that information, as a documentary director, producer would do, and streamline it along with the editors, etc., and tell this story. And I love that the story is told, and I love that the story is told of how it affected others in our community here, the legendary Aggie Dune, and how we are a family, and how this has affected us as a family. But I'll tell you what, in my experience over the last several years and working with Angela, this experience has helped me to be more honest as Mrs. Kasha Davis. And I was never afraid to tell all my truth and what was happening, but I was definitely at times doing it in a more, drag queen showmanship way. And so now I'm finding where the gems are, and where you can really be very relatable to people, and hopefully give them an example, and maybe possibly give them an inspiration, or an ideal or idea of a way of life that could be happy and healthy, and maybe positively affects others. So ultimately, it's been a great learning experience, and far better in terms of being fulfilling than it was to compete on a runway.
Well, I think, it's easy to understand why you would come to that realization, why you would settle into kind of the warmth of that idea, that that again, it's whereas so much that we see put out there, for obvious reasons, is built on artifice, that there's a magic to letting us see something behind the artifice, because then that enhances our impression and our feelings about Mrs. Kasha Davis, being able to see Ed behind there. I want to finish up with this question I love asking this of filmmakers, Angela, and that is this: at some point, for documentary filmmakers, oftentimes a discovery is made where it's either happens during the process of getting footage, of doing interviews. Sometimes it's in the editing bay where you go, holy shit, this is the movie. I thought the movie was this, but this is the movie right here. I have a movie now. It's that eureka moment that you have. I would love to hear. I was like thinking of that. As I was watching this, like going, oh my God, I wonder which one of these, like, as it was happening or in the editing bay, that Angela just said, oh my God, this is it. I got it. This is the movie. So let's hear it.
Oh my gosh, I have so many different answers for this. I'm like, well, one of the things, you're digging, you shoot so much footage, right? Like, especially going on tour, and it was a small crew, and even sometimes I was filming. And I'm combing through. Had a very small team, but the first line of reviewing all the footage was always me. And I'm making selects of things and so on. But DragCon, we were there for I think 3 days, all day from very early in the morning to evening, and I was going through one of these days, and it really was. This one day was so hard, and I just watched the start of the day. Mrs. Kasha Davis is just hugging so many people, and then gets pulled into a press room and gets to do a bunch of press, and is feeling really up. And then we go to Drag Story Hour, which Mrs. Kasha Davis is very excited to be able to have this sort of panel context, and it's poorly attended. The organizers, they're super disorganized. The lighting is bad. And I'm starting to see I'm looking at the footage, and I can see the energy, the disappointment, but the still trying to put on the best show for the smaller audience, the couple of rows that are full, and really just seeing this movement in Kasha Davis's face, just seeing this shifting between the energy, the weight of the expectation, the disappointment, and the but still putting on an incredible show for a much smaller audience than should have been there. And then then Mrs. Kasha Davis in that footage, she talks about having to pee and not getting a chance to, and all of this, and it's just a day of, and I could not stop watching all of this footage. And then a couple minutes later, we're in a room with promoters who are selling stuff, and somebody's like, I want to see you on All Stars, and she was like, go tell RuPaul's producers. And then seconds away from that, you have a recent winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars who has a huge procession behind her, and you're like, hey, and she's like, I'm so important. Anyway, all of that, it was just oh, how do I tell that story? And it was just that's the all of a sudden it had just these moments all together. It was as a film, I was I need to figure out how to communicate as best as possible, and through editing, and through storytelling, what that feels like, and the emotional weight of that. Because as a witness, it was hard being there, and then rewatching it and seeing it in close up detail, slowed down, and it was really intense. And I just really felt when I was there, I felt for Ed. When I watched it, I felt for Ed and Mrs. Kasha Davis. So yeah, it was this desire to give anyone an incredible experience, despite all of this other stuff that's going on, seemed what I hope to do. So
and that's exactly what you did do. And and it is special because of that. And that's what I said, and that's why, frankly, each one of the people that you've talked to today, was frankly so freaked out, excited to talk to you both today.
Oh, that's so
You know,
sweet.
yeah, well, I mean, and that's the thing is that and as film journalists and people who love film, there is, there's a moment that we don't always reach when we're watching films. And you don't have to be a film journalist to have that. But when we do, then you just can't wait to tell everybody. And if you do have a moment, to actually engage with the subject of a film like this, or the filmmaker that put it all together, then it's huge. It's a huge fucking deal. So again, congratulations to both of you. And for different reasons. For this film, but congratulations to both of you. Again, we've been talking with Angela Washko. She's the director of Workhorse Queen, and Mrs. Kasha Davis, the subject of the film. And please give our regards to Ed. But thank you both for joining us and talking about the movie.
Thank you so much.